everyone and welcome to Band for Band channel, and I'm back with the second lecture of Python series in which we are going to learn about Python data types, Python variables, Python built-in function, and how can we print and manipulate text and Python programming language. So Python variable is a reserved memory location to store values. In other words, you can say a variable in Python program gives data to computer for processing. Like any other programming language, Python also uses variable to store information, and variables can be declared by any name or alphabets. It's up to you. Like you can use A, double A, triple A, whatever variable you want to select or use. Variable can be redeclared even after you have declared them for once. So in Python, you cannot concatenate string with number directly. You need to declare them as a separate variable. This is a very interesting thing which we are going to learn in this lecture as well. And after that, you can concatenate number with strings as well. So declare local variable when you want to use it for current function. If you wish to delete a variable, you can use a keyword del, which is del. So data types. So again, data types is also a very important thing in Python. Data types are the classification or categorization of data items. Data type represent a kind of value which determines what operation can be performed on the data. Numeric, non-numeric, Boolean, you can say true, false. Data are the most used data types. However, each programming language has its own classification. Like Python has the following standard of built-in data types, which I have, given and shared on your screen, as you can see that. Now, let's do some practice. So let's open Jupyter Notebook. In last lecture, I've already told you how can you download Jupyter Notebook on your system on Windows 10. If you don't watch this lecture, so just go and watch that lecture first and then, connect to this lecture. So while Jupyter Notebook is opening, as I told you, it will take few seconds. So Jupyter Notebook has been opened now, so I have to create a new Python 3 notebook. I'm just opening it and I'm just going to rename it with exercise name. Okay, now it's time to do some exercise. Firstly, I will also open the keyboard so you can see what keys I'm using. I hope the keyboard is visible to you. So it's an on-screen keyboard just to show you what I'm doing on screen and what keys I'm using. Firstly, I like to tell you if I am, creating a variable in which I'm going to store a string value. So just, okay, I've just write, hi, I'm learning programming. So I'm just going to enter it. So let's say if you want to print it, I already discussed in the last lecture, how can you print it? So it's very simple. Again, press enter. Now, if you wish to know the type of your variable, so you can also use type function for that. So you can see it's a string class. You can see it's visible on your screen. How can you concatenate two variables? Let's say I've already created a variable named as A. Now I'm just going to create a variable and in this variable I'm just going to write Python programming. So now I want to concatenate it. For that I am going to do print A plus B, and it will print it by concatenating it. You can see, hi, I am learning programming, Python programming. So it's working. Now let's talk about some built-in functions. Created a variable named as X, and I'm just going to store some characters in it. Now, if I want to know the length of X, I'm just going to write print length. This is how you write a function. You can see that print itself is a function and length is also a function. So what I'm doing right here, firstly I write print, then I just open and close round bracket, and inside the bracket I'm just calling another function which is length. So in this function, what we are doing, we are printing the length of X variable. So you can say what will be the, okay, I'm just going to print it. So it's a 10. So that means this is 10 characters. Okay. Now I'm going to use another function which is upper and lower. Now we will learn how can we print lower or upper cases. For example, in this variable, I write all the alphabets in lowercase, and now I want to print it in uppercase. So how can I do that? I write print, okay. Then I write the variable name, which is x. Now I'm going to write dot. You can click by here. Okay, then you write upper because I want to do it in uppercase. Then I'm going to print it. So all the alphabets is going to print in uppercase. Okay. So again, if you wish to count anything, for example, I want to know how many C's, how many C's are there in this sequence. So let's find out. You have to write print. Then you have to write x, which is a variable, and we store the sequence. Then I'm going to write count, which is x dot count. Now as I'm going to print, as I'm going to find out the frequency of C, so I'm just writing C here. So now I'm going to run it. So that's according to our code, it's telling us that 4 times C is occurred in the sequence. You can count it 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's working fine. You can see. So this is how we can work with some built-in functions in Python. As I told you that I am a bioinformatician by profession, so it's a day-to-day task for me to analyze, DNA, RNA, protein sequences, and one of the most important and basic tasks is to calculate GC content. So in this exercise, I'm also going to tell you that how can you calculate the GC content in DNA sequence. So GC content is often used to predict, annealing temperature to template DNA, and a higher GC content level indicates relatively higher melting temperature. So it's very important to calculate it. So let's say if you want to calculate GC content, so how can you calculate it? So let's learn it. First of all, you have to store your DNA sequence in a variable. Right now I'm just going to use an example. Just to give you an example, I'm just writing it by my own. If you want to if you are working with real-time data, obviously you are going to download the FASTA sequence of DNA from NCBI or ENA. It's up to you. So then you cannot use this double quotes. Then you have to write it like this: x is equals to, you have to click this 3 times, with enter you can see the single quote. You have to click like it, and then you can paste your FASTA sequence here. For example, now you can paste up to any numbers because it is used to print multi-line comments. So it's, you have to use triple quotes for that. Okay. Then for calculating GC content, okay, I'm just going to write here, so you can also learn how we can comment something. Calculate GC content. Okay, so now you write the sequence. Then we are going to print the length of the sequence. So as I told you, you can use the length function for that. Then you have to count firstly G and then C. So G is equals to x dot count. In double quotes, I'm just going to write G. Then, as I told you, Python is case sensitive, so be careful with that. And then again, with double quotes, I'm going to write C. Now I'm going to add G plus C. So it will store the values, the frequency of G and the frequency of C. It is going to sum it. So once it is calculated, now it's time to calculate it. So what I'm going to write, GC divided by total into 100. So it's going to tell me, I have pressed, okay. So now I'm going to run it. Okay, as I don't write the print function, so how can it show to us? Okay, now it's going to print it. So you can see it is 50% GC content in our dummy DNA sequence. Okay, so if I want to round the value, I can also do that. There's a function of round in Python. So we can do this. You can see now it is 50. Okay, so let's conclude the session. I hope in today's session you will learn how can we print and manipulate text in Python, and you also learn how can we use built-in functions in Python. I try to make small and easy lectures for you. I hope you will understand today's lecture. If you like today's lecture, so please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for your precious time. Take care and stay tuned.